All right, my friends, let's see how it went. For part A, if you had a hard time with this, let's make this something that you can really visualize and fall back on basic geometry and still be okay, okay? Nothing fancy. So if we're talking about the lateral surface area, we're talking about the area of just the sides. So imagine that this is like a can of soup and it has a label on the outside. And we take a pair of scissors and we cut the label down the front and then tear, like kind of not tear, but unwrap the label from the can. Let's say that that's actually an easy thing to do. Anyway, well, what shape would you have when you unwrap the label? It would have a rectangle. And so, and how tall would the rectangle be? Well, it would be the height of the can, assuming that the label went all the way from the bottom to the top anyway. And then what would the length of the label be? Well, the label itself went all the way around, the top of the can there. So I hope it makes sense that the length would be the circumference of the circle, the base there at the top. And so let's see, what was the formula for circumference? Pi d or 2 pi r. So 2 pi times radius, which is 3. And so we'd end up with, for the total area, we'd end up with 6 pi times 10 or 60 pi. And it's area, so let's say units squared. There you go. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now for part B, it's the same story. It's just that you have a variable radius of, we're calling it x, and you have a variable height. We're calling it f of x. So let's figure out, the area of the sides here, or the lateral surface area. So the surface area would equal, so you'd have 2 pi times the radius, which would be x in this case, and then times the height, which would be f of x. There we go. And you can be fancy and say unit squared after it, I guess. But the point is that this part makes sense, that basically the idea is that lateral surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi times your radius and then times your height. And that sometimes we might have function rules in place of radius and height. So that's the idea at this point. If you're okay with that, then it's time to move on. Okay, for example 1, I would like for you to just draw a picture, as in that cute little 3D picture that we've been working, that kind of 3D picture that we've been working on, and get a plan in your head for how you would solve it. Okay, so you're not actually making yourself grunge it out and get to the final answer or anything, but I do want you to wrap your mind around what would be involved in finding the volume of the solid formed by revolving the region bounded by the graphs of y equals the opposite of the quantity x minus 3 squared plus 9 and y equals 0 about the y-axis. All right, give it some time, see how it goes. Not too much time. I'd say give it maybe 5 minutes max, and then check in with me in the next video. Okay, see how it goes.